Hi, and welcome to the Positive Psychology News webinar. And our guest today is Carin Rockind. Hi, Carin.
Hi.
I'm going to introduce you for a moment and then we'll get started. But I'm also really excited that we're talking to you today on October 17th, the day before
Women's Global Happiness Day.
Women's Global Happiness Day, which Carin is the founder of, and it's going on tomorrow. So here we go with everything that's happening today and tomorrow. First, a couple of things so you know a little bit about Carin. Who is this incredible person in front of me, Carin Rockind? A few things about her. Carin is the leading happiness expert and the founder of Purpose Girl, which you may have heard of. It's a movement to empower purpose-driven learning. She has a background in 15 years as a marketing executive. She's had some harrowing personal experiences that we may get to as well that have really led her to this incredible journey that she is taking so many people and so many women and so many groups on. What has Carin been doing for the past, how long has it been, Carin, that you've been in this positive psychology field?
7 years.
Yeah, for the past, getting close to a decade.
Yeah.
She's been teaching women to thrive, which is why we're so thrilled that we have her on now before tomorrow's event. She has a master's degree in applied positive psychology from UPenn, where she then also served as adjunct faculty. And Carin, while we today have her on as an expert in women's global happiness, Carin has a business side for women and men in which she works with companies including Morgan Stanley, Avon, BMW, Progressive Insurance, and companies like that. You may also be familiar with our guest because she does a lot of media appearances. You may have seen her on NBC, NPR, Huffington Post, and she has been the happiness guru on SiriusXM Stars Radio. She's also an international best-selling author for her contribution to the book Pebbles in the Pond, Wave 3. And she lives outside of Philly with her husband, Joshua. Hello, Carin.
Hello, Senya. I'm so happy to talk to you. Yeah, I'm actually talking to you from Capital One headquarters, where I'm going to be speaking right after we talk. So
you have a very full day today and tomorrow.
Yes.
You really do.
It's so good though, right? There's I can't complain. It's so good.
And so just before we joined, you told me how the phone is being held up as you're actually speaking to me. Tell me, please.
Yeah, this is hilarious. So the Capital One people needed my computer for the slides. So I'm talking to you on my phone, which is being held up, I wish I could take a picture of it, by 2 packages of Post-it notes and a protein bar so that we get and then there's 2 glasses behind it to make sure that we're all set up.
May I just say that in our history of PPN webinars, this is the first one that has been broadcast from a protein bar and 2 Post-it notes.
Yes, exactly. I'm so proud of that distinction. I'll have to add it to my bio.
Okay, we are doing a rapid fire. We do a small rapid fire at the beginning before we get into the big stuff. What do you most want people to know after listening today?
I most want people to know 2 things. One, that every single one of us was born for purpose, or else we wouldn't be here. And the research is clear we'd be happier if we were living it. And the other thing I want everyone to know is whether you're a woman or you have a woman in your life, which most of us do, whether it's a mother, a sister, a daughter, that women's happiness is different and that we're in the middle of a women's depression epidemic. And we can do something about it though. And that's why I've launched Women's Global Happiness Day, which is tomorrow. That's a big thing, October 18th, and people can find out about it at womenshappy.com or just go to womensglobalhappinessday.com.
What was the first one?
Womenshappy.com. I just wanted a little short URL to make it, kind of quick and cute. Mm-hmm.
We are putting that into our link right now for everybody here in all the attendees.
Awesome.
And please feel free to check that out even as we're speaking. Good, wonderful. We'll also put it into so I'm so excited to talk about tomorrow. Let me get our rapid fire.
Yeah, go. I'm ready.
If you could, so you've told us two big things you want everyone to know: that everyone has a purpose and that we're happier when we live it. And the second thing is women's happiness is different, and let's support women in their happiness.
Yes.
Including tomorrow. Awesome. If you could snap your fingers and just have everyone in the world do something, what would that thing be?
I would have them love themselves so much that they're able to love others as they are.
It's kind of like a 2-part where one feeds the other, huh?
Yeah. And self-love, we can talk about it, gets kind of a bad rap. People think it's like selfish or arrogance. It's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about really knowing your authentic self, being comfortable in your authentic self, and therefore being comfortable and accepting and loving of everyone else's authentic self as well. I think if we had more self-love and self-compassion, then we would have more other love and other compassion.
I love I want to say almost circular thinking of what you're presenting. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Carin Rockind, what did you want to be when you grew up?
A cheerleader.
No. Wait, tell me about that. How did you know who cheerleaders were? Yeah.
Okay, so I grew up in Michigan, and my parents took me to every University of Michigan football game. And while like my brother and my parents were really into the game, I was obsessed with the cheerleaders on the field. And University of Michigan has the largest football stadium. And so there were these teeny little cheerleaders on the field, and they somehow were able to get 111,000 people on their feet yelling, "Go Blue," or doing the wave, doing anything. And I was obsessed. So I made a little stick figure picture for my mom that she had in her office until the day she retired. So for like 30 or 35 years. And it said, "When I grow up, I want to be a cheerleader." And that was all well and good until I tried out for cheerleading my varsity year. And I was on the squad freshman and sophomore year. And then at varsity, when there was more competition, I can't do a cartwheel or a splits. And so I didn't make the team. And then my dreams were squashed until I really figured out that I could be a professional cheerleader as a motivational speaker and a purpose coach. And it all works perfectly.
I'm a professional cheerleader as a purpose coach.
I am.
Awesome.
Yeah, I am. The other thing I wanted to be when I was in high school, I wanted to be an OBGYN. And I don't know what it was very specific, not a doctor, an OBGYN. And I just kept thinking, I want to help women give birth. The thing is, I can't stand the sight of blood. Like literally just talking about it is making me a little sick right now.
Let's not go there.
Right. But it's amazing. One of the purpose exercises that I'll do with clients is to look at what you wanted to be when you grew up and see what information does that give you about what you might want to do now. Right? It doesn't have to be a one-to-one correlation, but what's the information there and the themes. And I was sharing those two careers with one of my women's groups. And one of my clients said, "Oh my God, now you birth women's dreams." I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So really
beautiful.
A cheerleader and OBGYN became what I do now.
That is stupendous. In positive psychology, we talk about our strengths and how so many of them are developed even as children. And here your strengths and your goals and really your purpose were these two. They look different. They look different to you when you first saw them.
Right. But really it's this combination. The themes were there.
So this is an amazing thing about this kind of webinar. I've known you for many years. I've never heard this. And I just think it really is you, both of those things. It's
right?
Amazing.
Thank you. I know that it's about me, but at some point then you have to tell me what you wanted to be when you grew up.
We'll do.
Okay.
What's the bravest thing or one of the bravest things you've ever done?
Oh gosh. I've done a lot of brave things. The bravest thing I've ever done was to leave my 6-figure vice president job with good health care and start my life over again at 36 when I went back to graduate school to get my master's in applied positive psychology at Penn. And as you know, Senya, because you did the program as well, you don't have to move to Philly in order to do the program. It's set up for, the executive model where you go back home and you come for a weekend once a month. And I went to my first week at MAP and I looked around and I had such a yearning to be there, to be on campus, to really soak it in. And I said to myself, as I was going back to Cleveland, back to my corporate job, back to the marketing world, what am I doing? That's my past and this is my future. So I went home and I quit my job and decided I was going to move to Philly and start life over again at 36. My dad said to me, "That is the stupidest decision I have ever heard." And I know he said it with love. That was total parental love. I get it. And it turned out to be the best decision of my life. Yeah.
Amazing, huh?
Yeah. So that was the bravest thing I've ever done.
And I just want to know, there's something that you're doing, sort of an observation in answering these questions. You're really letting them sink in. Like, huh, I've done a lot of brave things, but here's one that really, it feels like it got you. Like, am I really doing this? And you really did.
Yeah, I still kind of sometimes look back and go, did I really do that? Like, was I out of my mind? Because obviously now I work with a lot of clients who want to leave whatever they're doing and go into their purpose work. And I don't want to tell anyone, you have to do what I did. You know, I didn't have children. I had the luxury of being able to only be responsible for myself. You know, I had a mortgage, so I had to rent out my condo, and I needed to go on loan. So I did need to do that. So I don't want anyone to think that like the message here is you have to go do that.
Or that it's easy. Or Carin.
Or that it's easy. It was not. Even though I didn't have children, I swear to God, I was like peeing my pants. You know, the moving truck showed up at Philly and I said to the movers, can you take it all back? Like, I was so terrified. What am I doing? There's a nice cushy salary back there. And right?
The movers thought, who is this woman? What are we
doing? Like what? And so it's not easy. And I want to stand as a beacon of what's possible. Because it's not easy and it's not as hard as we think it is. Yeah.
2 more rapid fires.
Okay. This is fun.
Awesome. These are my favorite. And one is to put this question in context. Maybe there are other people who help people search for purposes, or other people who help people birth their dreams. But really, if you look at the whole world and how you feel and where you are, what is something only you can do?
So the thing that I can uniquely do is really help someone shift. I really can see to the heart of who someone is. And I'm really proud that I help and really able to kind of get to the root of what someone's core pain is or has been in their life and turn that into their core purpose.
Yeah. So your core purpose is not at the superficial level. It needs to come from someone.
Right. There's deeper messages, right? So I just took, one of the things I do is I take women on retreats all over the world. And I just came back from Greece and had this experience with this group of women where we had throughout the week done strengths and looked at our passions and limiting beliefs and shifting that and getting into our bodies and dancing and laughing and skinny dipping. And like, it was everything. Right. And then the last exercise we did is I asked them to make like a step ladder in their journal and think about what were 4 traumas or tragedies or trials, times that they've been challenged in their lives. And so often we think that we're successful despite our past. And I think we're successful because of it. And I think that that's really where we can become the most successful, is if we own even the darkness, even the shadow, even the pain. And we say, because, as an example, I was abused by my first love. Because I was abused by my first love, I now am courageous and loving toward everybody I meet. Because when I was in school, I was desperate to be popular and I felt like a loser, I now create sisterhoods where every woman is included. Because, right? And so this is how we really can transform our stories, our lives, and really get to the nugget of our core purpose and how we can support other people just with our wisdom. So, and that's something I do really well. You mentioned in the beautiful intro of me, thank you, that I've had a lot of harrowing experiences. And after one of them, my old boss at my old corporate job, his wife said to me, "Oh, you poor girl. So many bad things have happened to you." And I know she said it out of love. And I said, "Oh, I just don't think of my life that way. I just think everything that's happened to me has been for purpose." And so I think that there's a real opportunity there for all of us to look at that every single moment of our life has been for purpose. The joys show us what we love and what we're excited about, and the pain gives us our strength and our courage and our wisdom.
I'm going to ask our audience at this point, viewers who are here, you can make a comment to the panelists and then I can read it off. If you make a comment to everybody, then everybody will see it, which is fine. They'll just know who you are. That's your choice. What is something where you have grown from a place of pain or difficulty into understanding your purpose?
That's a great question.
Some pieces of where you've had what Carin is describing. I'll give you a moment to do that. And as we're giving a moment, as they will come to with the answers, our last rapid fire question for you. What is the most important thing in the world?
Love. That's it.
Yeah.
I think our world would be a lot different if we could just love each other.
Yeah.
You know, and Post-it notes to hold up my phone. But other than that,
this has been doing great. Your power bar and Post-it notes. It's been rocking it.
Yeah, you know, it's I paused and I said love, and typically my answer would be purpose, but I think that they're intertwined. You know, I think purpose is our way that we give our love to the world, right? And no two of us are the same. And I love your questions. Sonia, you're so good at this. Like, this is a real gift that you have, asking questions.
Thank you. Here we go with some of the answers. So one person tells us that I'm reading this, getting blamed and fired for something their manager did was the best thing that ever happened to them. Thank you. That sounds really brave to this person.
Yeah, super brave.
Thank you.
And I love that you're taking that wisdom, right? So what so many people do is they have this issue at work, get let go, or with a partner, whoever it is, and then they spend the next 10 years in victim mode and feeling, you know, bad about themselves. And what you're doing is such a beautiful example. It's called Post-Traumatic Growth, right? By Tedeschi and Calhoun.
Carin, I have two directions I want to go. And so I want to give you the choice. I want to know about how you came to this field. And I'm also just kind of jumping on my tiptoes to hear more about tomorrow and World Global Happiness Day. Where should we go first?
Well, let's do it in that order.
Okay, great.
Okay.
What is it that brought you to doing what you do?
Yeah, such a good question. So I was that girl who, I grew up in the Midwest and went to Michigan. I told you all that. And I thought that happiness looked like get married. He should be tall, dark, handsome, and a lawyer or a doctor to please my Jewish parents, and get a house and have some sort of job, and you'll be happy for the rest of your life. And my parents, I love them, bless their hearts. They've been married for 52 years, right? And happily married. They've been together since the 8th grade, like happily together. And my grandparents, who were Holocaust survivors, they had been together 68 years. So I really had these beautiful models of what happiness looked like. And so I did that. I married my college sweetheart. He indeed is 6'2", dark hair, green eyes. He was in law school. It was like, yes, yes, yes. You know, I'm doing everything right. And found myself with a big house in the suburbs by the time I was 24 years old. And we had a huge lawn, and we made Thanksgiving dinner and had a golden retriever. I mean, I can't make this stuff up. We had a purebred golden retriever. And I was really unhappy. Like I would cry almost every single day. I was really resentful toward my husband. I would yell at him for things that he didn't do. It was just like, I was just so unhappy. And he would say to me, like, what's wrong with you? We're happy. You know, we have everything we've ever wanted. And we did. I just felt like this isn't my life. Like, whose life am I living? And so I did end up getting divorced at 26 years old, and just started my journey to say, if that didn't make me happy, right? Like the Ladies' Home Journal, Cosmopolitan Magazine, do what you're supposed to do version didn't make me happy, what would? And pretty early on in my journey, I needed something to do with my time. And a mentor of mine suggested that I go volunteer. So I went and volunteered for the youth group that I had been in when I was in high school. I was in a Jewish youth group in high school. And so I became an advisor and started working with 40 high school girls. And I don't know how high school was for you, Senya, but for me, you know, and for these girls, they were so filled with hope and optimism and excited about what they wanted to do when they grew up in college. And at the same time, so self-deprecating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So many of them felt not, you know, they weren't skinny enough, pretty enough, smart enough, weren't going to go to weren't getting the right grades. Several of them had eating disorders. One of them would self-harm and cut herself. And it was just like, how is this possible 20 years after I went to high school? You know, why is this still happening? And so I just really found this love for being able to see each girl for who she was.
Yeah.
Not what her parents wanted her to be, not what the other girls at school said she should be, but like really being able to like see her and identify her gifts and be like, Senya, you're so creative. Look how everybody wants you to be the one who brings the, you know, make the posters or whatever. And I just found this love of lifting all these girls up and energizing them. And it was like, oh my God. And as I energized them, the whole experience energized me. And I was like floating.
You were doing the cheerleader with these people who really needed it. They needed a cheerleader.
Exactly. And I was like, this is better than like any bottle of wine I've ever had. This felt so good. And I was like, what kind of happiness is this? I had never experienced happiness that deep.
And what that's what it was. What is it?
Purpose. That's why I became Purpose Girl. Because I understood that what was happening here is that I was contributing my true gifts and doing what I was born to do, like bringing to bear all of my strengths, bringing to bear all of my talent. I didn't have the whole theory at that point, but I knew this is purpose. Like the word just kept coming to me. This is my purpose. I am here to empower girls and eventually girls and women to be their best selves.
Yeah.
The thing is, I couldn't figure out how to turn that into a career. You know, it was like, this is 20 years ago, and there was no such thing as YouTube or life coaching. I'd never heard of coaching. And so I kept looking at like, how do I turn this into a career? And people would say to me, you want to be Oprah? I'm like, that is 100% true. I do want to be Oprah. I think maybe a lot of us want to be Oprah a little bit. But how do you become Oprah? It was too big. So I ended up going back. I couldn't figure out the path. I'd actually written a book and I had an agent read it. He said I was a great writer, but he couldn't publish what I wrote. It was too much of my own story. Huh. This is before Eat, Pray, Love. And I just felt so dejected, which maybe Senya gives you an insight to why kind of I have had so much fear around writing this next book. So anyway, so I felt rejected. I couldn't figure out a career path. And so I did what my nice Midwest Jewish girl inside knew how to do, which was to go find another Jewish lawyer. And
no. Okay.
Almost give up on my dreams. And we were in the jewelry store after like 2 years of being together, about to get a ring. And I felt so sick to my stomach. I thought I had to throw up. So I came back and I broke up with him.
You're really in tune with your, like, just how your signals your body is giving you.
Yeah. My body is always.
Yeah.
And I think that that's true of all of us. It's just that we have so much noise happening in our head all the time and so much noise coming at us from the news and from all these different places that, and I think we live in a society that really honors the neck up.
Yeah.
And the more we get in touch with our bodies and what our bodies were born for, the more we can really feel, and our body will tell us what we need. So fortunately I didn't marry that guy, but I did end up becoming severely depressed because then I thought, what a loser I am. Like I did it again. I almost did it again. And I started taking antidepressants, and I took so many antidepressants over a year, and none of them worked. But after a year, I begged my psychiatrist. I said, I must be bipolar. Give me lithium. And there's nothing wrong with being bipolar, but she took her pen, she puts it in her notebook, and she closes her notebook, and she leans forward, and she said to me, Carin, you're not bipolar. You have so many dreams inside of you that you talk about, and you've never pursued any of them.
What a truthful, just caring person.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, okay. I went home and I made a list of all of my regrets, everything I regretted that I'd never done. I made a list of all my dreams, everything.
And how old were you at this time?
About 32.
Okay.
33. No, 34. I'm sorry. 34. Before 34. And I should say that when I was so depressed and in that stress, 34, not 32, excuse me, 34, I got shingles.
Your body, again, talking to you. Yeah.
And I was a marathon runner. Like a healthy 34-year-old doesn't get shingles. So I went home, I made a list of like all my regrets and all my dreams and everything I was jealous about other women over, right? And it could have been men, but for me it was women. It was like, why does Becky get to live in New York? And it was like, oh, maybe I want to live in New York, you know? So again, really looking at what we say to ourselves and finding the information in there. Mm-hmm. And so one by one, I started knocking them down. I bought a boat and I went to Paris for a month. I walked into my boss's office. I said, I need a month off to go to Paris because I'd regretted.
You said you bought a boat?
I bought a boat. Yeah.
You wanted a boat?
I did. I wanted a boat.
And you slept
I
on
didn't know
boat?
how to drive it, but I bought one.
You rolled that off the tip of your tongue as if it's the most normal thing.
What, everyone doesn't just go buy a boat? That's just not something people do.
I bought a boat, went to Paris. I wonder how are those two connected? Paris is not even boat friendly. Okay, so you got a boat. Wow.
So I got a boat, and then I got this little speedboat. It was amazing, and then I learned how to drive it. I was living in Cleveland, and Cleveland's on, the Great Lakes. And so I was like, why shouldn't I get a boat, And then I did another brave thing. I walked into my boss's office and said, I need to go to Paris because I had regretted that I didn't go abroad in college because I was practically married to my, ex-husband at that time. And so I said, I can either come back and work for you or I can quit. And he said, see you in a month.
Yeah. And it's so funny because, Carin, on your social media, I don't know how many times you've been to Paris, but when you're there, you post, and it's some of the happiest that I've ever seen you. Like when you are in a cafe in Paris.
I'm meant to live in Paris. Like, so, so Josh and I am remarried, as you know, and so we have it on we're trying to figure out if it's next year or the year after, because we still would like to have a baby and figure all that out. But we do plan on going to Paris for 3 months and checking out how we like living there. So anyway, so I started doing all these things, and the one thing I hadn't done was pursued this career dream because I still didn't know how, and I was terrified. Like, I was making fat 6 figures, and I had a vice president title, and my mentors were like the CEO of Sherwin-Williams. Like I had a good, I had it going on. And so I one day was walking home. I went on a blind date, and it sucked. And I was walking home from a blind date, talking on the phone about it with my sister. She lived in California. I was living in Cleveland. And I'm like, oh, and he blah, blah, blah. And I'm talking about him, and we're cracking up. And I go to put the key in my condo door. And then I suddenly feel hot breath on my neck. And I turn around, and I am nose to nose with a really sad looking young man. And he had like these saucer black eyes. And I said, are you going inside? I thought maybe he was visiting a friend, And he looks into my eyes, and then he looks down at my stomach and pulls a gun. In that moment, I just fall to the floor, and I'm screaming, and now my hands are over my head. I'm screaming, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me. And I look up, and now the gun is at my head. And so I said, okay, God, it's been a good life. Tell my parents, thank you. I had flashes, like from my bat mitzvah, like I had flashes of my life. And then, Senya, some other voice came over me, and she was really calm and clear. And she said, oh no, you were put on this earth for purpose, and women need you. And so in that moment, I made a promise. I said, if you let me live, I promise I will pursue that purpose. And at that moment, the man took my purse and he ran. So I survived. And I survived in order, so that other people don't let a gun get to your head before you decide that you're going to pursue whatever the dream is in your heart, or before you decide that you're going to figure it out. Like,
it's not even metaphorical anymore. That's real.
No, it's real. I mean, the first line of my working manuscript right now is, if there were a gun pointed at your head right now, what would you regret never having done? Because for me, it was not a hypothetical. I mean, that was a real, right. I mean, it's a crazy thing. And so,
and so I just, you even had good intentions. You thought, oh, maybe he's lost. Maybe he's going in. Like, what does he need? You had no clue what's going on.
No, I mean, this is a totally separate story, but I ended up talking to him. I ID'd him out of a lineup. And this is totally outside of this story, but it's just a human connection story. I was able to ID him in a lineup. And so I went to his hearing, and the judge asked if there was anything I'd like to say. Oh, so I had said to all my friends afterwards, I'm like, well, maybe he needed diaper money. Maybe he, and people were like, that's crap. He was just and these people were like so jaded, and I found myself starting to become jaded and hardened. And then I showed up at court, and his lawyer gave me a letter that he had written to me saying that he needed diaper money.
No.
Yeah.
Just the same hunch
exactly
you had.
what I had thought. And, there are people I've told the story to, and they're like, you're so naive, but maybe I'm just kind-hearted. And maybe I just want to, and so the judge gave me an opportunity to say something to him. And so he and I stood 10 feet from each other. And I said to him, I just wish you had asked me for the money and told me you needed diapers, because I would have given it to you. It's just who I am. Anyway, so I just
focused story. It's just so it's so holistic. Like, here you've had this experience, but there's aftermath of it too.
Yeah. There's so much we could go into, because I just got the notice that he's just been released from prison. So I know, literally, this is 10 years just now. Yes. So, oh, and I'm 44. So I was 34, right, when all this went down. So,
what a weird way to actually find the date. That's how weird. That's
right.
Weird.
Yeah. So
that's all.
So I just made a decision. Yeah. So I know this is a long story to get to purpose, but this was, I just made a decision that day. I'm going to do it no matter what. And I thought, well, what do I need in order to feel comfortable being a professional cheerleader, being a speaker out there and a coach? And I thought I need an education, I want some sort of foundation in human behavior. Yeah. And I've got the story. I've got a great story to be a speaker, but I wanted some sort of foundation, skill set, and knowledge. And so, I looked at traditional psychology, and it just didn't appeal to me. No. And
not for what you were meant to do.
Exactly. And it just so happened that someone who from high school, who I hadn't spoken to in 20 years, posted on my Facebook page, "You're always so positive. Have you seen this?" And it was, you can't make this stuff up. And it was a video of Marty Seligman, Dr. Martin Seligman, the founder of Positive Psychology, talking all about this field. And I start devouring these videos and crying. And then I followed the link to Penn and found the master's program and applied. And that's it. And I when my dad said to me, "That is the stupidest decision I've ever heard," and I was crying, I'm the baby, Daddy's telling me I'm doing it wrong. I had this moment where I said to myself, the only reason to not do this is if I don't believe in myself to do it. Because if I believe in myself, then I'm either going to make it successful, or if I fail, which is, I have failed a million times in the last 7 years. Okay. Or if I fail, the worst thing that happens is I go get another marketing job. And do I believe in myself to go get another marketing job? Yeah, I do.
Oh, Carin, I love how practical that is, because a lot of times we see these beautiful one-line things on Facebook or Twitter. Do you believe in yourself enough? Or what would you do if you couldn't fail? And that's really high and mighty, and that's great, and that's useful. But I hear a double message in what you're saying. Do I believe in myself that I can do this field? Or do I believe in myself that I can handle it if I need to go back to what I was doing?
Yeah, thank you for summarizing it that way. Yeah, and I thought the worst thing that happens is I go back and I get a marketing job, but then at least I can be satisfied knowing I tried.
It's like you went to Paris, but for a year and got an education. You did. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my long story of how I got here. And then, because I decided to go and be at Penn full time instead of going back and forth, I asked the Positive Psychology Center, "Can I work for you?" And that wasn't a thing. So I hunted down the person who was teaching the undergrad class that semester. And I got lucky, because it was Angela Duckworth, and she was on sabbatical. And so it was a clinical psych grad student who knew very little about positive psychology. So she let me teach half the classes. Awesome. And then I was off and running. So then I told all my students that I was a coach. And at the end of the semester, one of them hired me. And then Marty asked me to be his teaching assistant in the MAP program, like you were as well. And then I pitched my own class to Penn in Purpose and Meaning, and I got hired to have my own undergrad class at Penn. And then I reached out to all of my old corporate contacts and said, "This is what I'm doing now. Can I come speak to your company?"
And here you are, the offices of Capital One, about to do a speech. Exactly.
There we go. And I did a lot for free. I mean, I tell people when I started, I spoke for free a lot. You know, it was really at that point was, you know, get practice and start getting people to know who I am and what my message is, and really ask people to be on my newsletter so that I could start building connections.
You know, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because a lot of people will say, oh, this positive psychology field is a little strange, and how do you become so good? The first things I did as well were in Greenwich, Connecticut, and in New York, I ran a free happiness club. Like, wait,
I spoke to Lionel 2 days ago.
You were just on his interview, right? He's also had a similar experience to you, being held up at gunpoint. So at some point, you should connect about that. That's just
we did.
Mm-hmm. Yo, that's crazy. So, right, you do these things, but you learn so much. I don't even think about it as for free. I think about it as understanding where things land, where they don't land. And so you're doing these talks, you're in media, but I just think it's a really valuable message that you don't just get there. You don't just say, here's my price and here's what I do. You try things. You learn. People learn. Exactly.
I love that. You know, thank you for saying that, because that's the second time in 3 weeks that someone has suggested to me that instead of calling it for free, it's an investment, or what you're getting back is kind of knowledge, and you're getting experience, and you're getting sometimes testimonials, and you're getting
people who want to support you. You're getting champions.
Yeah. So you're getting you get tons back when you do it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to switch gears completely.
Okay.
And we're going to talk totally about tomorrow and what it means and what it is. And two big overall questions. What does it mean? And also, what can people do? Even the ones now on our session. So all about tomorrow. Tell us.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Okay. So Women's Global Happiness Day is the first ever worldwide initiative to eradicate the women's depression epidemic and empower women worldwide with happiness tools, with proven happiness tools. And this is so important. So in the crux of it is that we have at this point 90 volunteers all over the world, including you. Thank you, Sonia.
Totally.
Holding events, and an event is just a small circle of women coming together to the number one tool for women in terms of happiness is sisterhood. The research is super clear that women who have close girlfriends are happier and healthier, live longer. And so that's the number one tool. So if women just get together and have coffee, that's enough, right? So
I love that. That's so simple. Like, that's it. Basically, Carin, what you're saying to our attendees on the call is, go call your girlfriends, set up a time for tomorrow or this week or when you can.
And I've said to people, just connect and then see what you can do about making the conversation pointed in the favor of possibility, hope, joy, purpose, right? So often we get together with our girlfriends and it's like, my husband, so instead, if we can get together and have a real meaningful conversation about what we're hoping for or what our heart actually desires, or what's getting in our way, what are the things that we say to ourselves?
What's the one thing? So if people have one question that, let's say they're getting together in a group of 4 or 5 women, what's the one question that they should ask around that table?
What are you truly hoping and desiring for in life? That's a real conversation that we often don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then that can often get into, well, I can't do it because of X, Y, or Z. And then you all can band together and say, well, how about you take one step doing it this way? Or how about you, instead of, before you write a book, you write one blog, so you can just help each other out you can become like a little accountability group,
Mm-hmm.
So this idea, so there are women gathering all over the world. We've got 2 events happening in Nigeria. We've got an event in New Zealand, Singapore, the Philippines, Colombia, South America, Dubai, all across the United States, Toronto, Europe. I mean, I'm blown away. And everyone is hosting an event. It's just a volunteer thing. It's just, and so you can do something as simple as we just said, or if you wanted to do something a little more elaborate, I'm trying to make it super easy for people who want to host an event. All you do is you invite some girlfriends over, and then I send you a whole leader packet, and there's a whole curriculum that guides you through. I did a training. People can watch the training video. There's social media posts. you know, or the other thing you can do, just simply, you know, everyone posts on like Instagram, happy strawberry ice cream day, you know, so like that, tomorrow post happy Women's Global Happiness Day, and just bring to awareness the epidemic. And let me just make a statement about the epidemic. Women statistically are twice as many women are depressed as men. And this is a disparity that begins as teenagers. And so and on top of that, depending on which study you look at, 80 to 90% of women dislike their bodies. I mean, there's so much body hatred. On top of that, pretty much every study I haven't looked obviously at every study out there, but I've looked at studies in medicine, nursing, finance, show that that women who are just as competent as men feel less confident than men. So we really, when I talk about an epidemic, and then there was a study out of the University of Pennsylvania a few years ago, that showed that modern women are less happy than women were 30 years beforehand. And so it's like we have more opportunity, we have more advantage, and more misery. And in that study, the women said they wouldn't trade places. Like, they don't want to give up. We don't want to give up our advantage.
We don't want to be in the 50s.
No,
yeah.
We don't want to be there. At the same time, the way we're doing life is not working, right? And some of what's not working is women still carry the majority of mental load. I know you and I have talked about that with our coaches cohort, meaning that women just naturally, because we're such good caretakers and nurturers, we're the ones who are thinking about, oh, little Jimmy has a birthday party, and oh, I got to send that, you know, bill out. And I've got, like, we're constantly thinking of that. And men's minds tend to be, this is not everybody, but tend to be more compartmentalized. And because women are nurturers by nature, we ruminate more. So we think about the negative more. So we're constantly worried about ourselves and everyone else.
That's so much thing. Just look at all the research you've quoted. It's like 5 different lines that all point to the same.
All point to the right. So I'm calling it an epidemic because we need to highlight it. And one of the things that's happening right now, there's many reasons why this is going on. One of them, as an example, is that women are abused more than men. And look at what's going on with Me Too and the Supreme Court, you know, confirmation. And women have banded together to say Me Too in their pain. And now it's time for women to band together in our joy and say, we deserve better. And we're going to claim, right? Because one of the things that women don't do very well is that, and not all women, but not as good as men, at claiming their own happiness first. Right? Because it's been called selfish or what, right? And so it's like, we have to shift and understand that as we take care of our own joy, as we take care of and feed ourselves and nourish ourselves with purpose and nourish ourselves with healthy, happy relationships and sisterhood and learning new mindset, as we take care of ourselves beyond the mani-pedi, I love me a mani-pedi, but beyond the mani-pedi, we are then better for everybody else. And so part of Women's Global Happiness Day is my team and I have written a Women's Happiness Declaration.
And that's at the same place, Carin? That's at womenshappy.com?
No, you know what? I will post it there. I sent it to the event leaders, but I will post it there. You know, and the first line of it is, my happiness is my choice, right? So, and the second is, you know, I forget how we worded it, but basically, like, we celebrate ourselves and all women everywhere, you know, because there's a lot of competition. And it's proven. And so I mean, you know, I had this idea about 10 months ago. It actually was a pain to purpose story. It came from when I had a second miscarriage about a year ago. And as I was healing from that and was meditating a lot, and I had used all my tools, my sisterhood tools, my mindset tools, my every tool that I could think of. In meditation, I said, show me what else I'm here to birth. Just show me. And I had pictures of women like me who were either depressed, or, by the way, this isn't just for women who are depressed, because the majority of people, men and women, are not thriving, right? We're existing, we're surviving. So this is just for any woman who feels like there's something else out there, or something's missing, or I feel a little stuck, or I feel lost. It's just for all of us, right? And so I just had this vision of women, but they didn't have the tools. And then I had a vision, literally, like, of a globe. I saw a globe, and I saw, like, little groups of women gathering all over that globe. And I remember you were one of the first people I talked to about it.
I was so excited for you because it fits with wanting to be an OBGYN.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, and so I didn't know how I was going to do it. Right. It was like, I didn't know how. And over the summer, I just said, if I'm going to do it, I'm just going to do it. Right.
Yeah. Remember when you originally started, you said, should I plan this for a year from now, for 2 years from now? You did this within 10 months.
Yeah, I did. I launched it. I told people about it in August. And because I just said, you know, because I had talked to friends of mine who are like, they know how to run internet marketing program. And they were trying to help me make money on it. And all this, I was like, this isn't, right.
No, let's get it out there.
Let's just get it out there. And, you know, so I'm doing this, you know, I'm not making any money on it. I'm just doing this because I believe we need to do it. And I just want to say thank you to all of the women like you who are hosting events, all the women who are attending events. Another way people can participate is, I know not everybody can get to a live event. And so I am hosting an online event tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's totally free.
How do people find it? How do they find
that same website, womenshappy.com. And it says attend free webinar. I mean, it's really like, you know, it's really obvious. And as soon as you sign up for it, you get the Zoom information. And so I'm going to take people through the curriculum online, and it's going to be a big celebration. And it's tomorrow night, October 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, as you know, we're tweeting it out all over that you're having.
Thank you so much. I got an email this morning from the woman in New Zealand. She's a day ahead, so she already held it. And she was just, you know, gushing to me about the vulnerability and the connection. And I got an email. The Portland group held theirs, because I'm telling people you don't have to do it on that exact date. It can be around it. Yeah. There were 26 women in Portland, and the feedback. I mean, just that they finally have tools. They didn't realize how they had been thinking in a negative way. They feel renewed hope and purpose, and I just don't know anything better than that. So.
Okay, we have 10 minutes, so
thank you.
This is perfect. This is exactly what we needed. We invite everyone who is listening, ask your questions now. So there are 2 ways you can ask your questions. You can type it into the chat box, and you can ask there. You can send it to just the panelists. We'll see it. You can also, there's a Q&A box. We don't care. We're Q&A area agnostic. So send it to us either in the Q&A box or in the question box. 2 things. One is these questions that people should be asking of their groups, like when they meet up with their people who mean something to them. I love how you said, what are your hopes? What are your dreams? So my 2 things, I'll give you an example, which was really, really meaningful. And then also ask you and the people on our call what they would want to know from their close friends, friends as they get together tomorrow or whenever they do. Whenever they do. We did ours yesterday, and intriguingly, I told you that I would lead it, but my neighbor Pam ran it. So and here are the 3 things she did. 4 of us got together, and she's asked all of us what to do, a first assignment before it, which you could either do or not. What are your top strengths? What are your top challenges? And then we all went around, what are everyone's top strengths? What are everyone's top challenges? We talked about them. And then she said, what does self-care mean to you?
Oh my God, that's so simple.
It was really effective.
It's so effective. I mean, when I say simple, I mean simple and effective. Wow, Senya.
The reaction you're having is the reaction all of us. We didn't know she would ask this question, but all of us just kind of, it means this to us, or it means, you know, when you get asked that question, what does it mean for you? You're running this. You're hosting 90 people. What does self-care mean for you?
So at the deepest level, self-care means listening to myself, right? Having a practice of slowing down. I started meditating a few years ago, and used to be somebody who was like, I can't meditate, you know, my mind doesn't shut up. And it was actually Matt Friends who said to me, that's why you have to do it, you know. And there is such gifts and wisdom in slowing down. Yeah. And so that's huge. And so my meditation practice, and then I think the deepest level of self-care is listening to the intuition and to the hits that we get. So yeah, I love mani-pedis. I love massage. I love like all that. But too often we do all that, but then when we get a hit about a friendship that no longer serves us, or about a book we want to write, or about a, you know,
we're just not listening. You're saying
we're not trusting. So I think the deepest level of self-care is listening to ourselves.
Yeah.
Including like, I've got to cancel my meetings this afternoon. And this is, I'm not good enough at it. Honestly, like this is, I totally am happy to tell everyone I am not perfect at any of this stuff.
That's so helpful that you're saying that. Like all of these 90 groups are getting started because you had a vision to birth this. But all of us have this, regardless whether you've been running this or other people like you.
Yeah, I mean, totally. And self-care to me really would be, you know, here's something self-care to me would be honoring my schedule and making space. And you know what, Senya? I have not been good at it. And it's something I want to be a lot better at. And
that's
so after Thursday, yeah, like next week, that's going to be, I really want to sit down and say, how do I protect my schedule? Because I need space. Yeah.
Somebody just asked us a question, which is how can I find the specific webinar that Carin is describing? So what I'm going to do, someone asked us this question, is I'm going to share my screen and I am going to share my, this is where I went to. So when I typed in women's happy, this is what came up. So here I am on this site, and just like Carin said, here is free webinar. So I'm clicking on that and it tells me that it's tomorrow and here's how you can register. So I hope that helped the person who asked specifically, how can I get to that webinar? I went to womenshappy.com and it's this whole site. It's Carin talking about it. It's a lot of information about what it is, how it came. It gives you information about hosting or attending an event. But really the question that someone just asked is, how do I get to the webinar? So it's right there. Anything else to add about that, Carin, about where it is and how to find it?
No, that's it right there. I'm just honored and excited. Any of you who want to join.
Good.
Yeah.
So we've got that. The thing that we always end with on a PPN webinar is, what are people's takeaways from what they have heard from you? So whether you are, as the person who's been on this webinar, whether you are thinking about Carin's own story and what she did and how things fall together, even that, I thought that was so visual what you said. I'm trying to put it in the camera, the step by step, and like, what are the past challenges or horrific even experiences that lead us to the growth in us. So you might be thinking about it visually. What is your takeaway? It could be from Carin's experience of how she came to this, to the field that she's in. It could be from what is going on in the world about women in general. It could be about the specific day tomorrow. So people are already starting to type in. I'll read them in a second. What are you taking away? It could be an action. It could be something you're going to do. It could be a thought. It could be a feeling. So we'll start to read some of these off. And at the very end, we'll ask Carin one last question. Okay, so, this person wrote almost a paragraph. So I'm reading off. One person wrote, I am so inspired, ! I walked away from a job understanding and knowing I want to pursue positive psychology coaching. Now I am even more determined and excited than ever. Thank you. I'm not going to say your name because you just wrote to us, but you should follow Carin. Like, if this is exciting for you, you can find her there and just follow her on social media. I do. And on her email list, you'll get personalized videos and emails.
Thank you.
So she is.
I am.
She wrote back to us.
And maybe you could type in there, Senya, my website. So that's the Women's Global Happiness website. My website is purposegirl.com. Purpose Girl. Oh yeah, I do all my PPN bites too, which I love doing. It's so fun.
That's great. Yes, Carin is our PPN bites we are on the PPN webinar. You have been seeing her for, how has it been? About 10, maybe 13 so far? It's been about 10, 1 to 2 minute bites. Carin is giving us a research about every Tuesday. So yes, Purpose Girl. Good. What other takeaways do you have? So as attendees, what else are you taking away from this? I am taking away, just as we're waiting for things to come in, the simplicity of this. That it really can be as simple as remembering to and doing and meeting with your close friends, your close sisterhood friends. And just asking, this is the first time that I've really made that connection from you, Carin, just asking that, what is your growth? Like those things that are really bad in your past, what does that make you? How does that make you amazing?
Mm.
I'm really taking that away. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's see. What are people saying on there? Please feel free to do your takeaways. So what are you walking away here from? What are you thinking as a takeaway from today? As we ask Carin the last question. So I always ask it in the same way. So
please let me know what you're taking away, if it's one word or anything. It just helps me know too what works.
And as they're coming, I'll read one more and then I'll ask you the question. One person is saying that traumas and suffering can be sources of strength and wisdom. Those are 4 really deep words to that person. Traumas and suffering, sources of strength and wisdom. They continue with saying, I'm not broken by the fact that they occurred. Thank you.
Not only you're not broken, you're stronger. There's like a beautiful Japanese saying about putting the gold in the cracks. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, there's an art of it. Yeah, kin something.
Something, yeah.
Somebody is saying they're feeling community. Thank you. I think that's one of your goals for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's actually the biggest goal. I mean,
Feeling
that's why I said, if nothing else, you know, feeling like you have that community, that connection. You know, I wish I'd talked to your friend before I made the whole curriculum, because I couldn't figure out how to make it as simple as your friend, you said Kim or Pam? Pam did. And I love the simplicity of those questions, because we don't go there typically, right? It's like, we often don't feel safe. And that's why if you're in a small group and someone has created a safe container, but we're hungry, I think we're all hungry for it, to just be real, just be authentic and real.
Yeah. Thank you. The word is kintsukuroi. Kintsukuroi is when a beautiful bowl or something like that breaks apart and you put it together with gold to highlight where it broke. Carin, our last question to you.
Okay.
What do you most want us to feel as we walk away from today's webinar?
Well, the 2 words come to me. Inspired was the first word. Really, I was like, is that really it? It's really, I want you to feel confident that you can pursue whatever is in your heart, that it's possible. Yeah, I think that's, hope is such, thank you, Marian. Yes, that's it. I think we're all special. So when I say this, I don't think I'm any different or any special in that way. I just think we all we're given the nudges and we're given the callings and we're given the inklings. And I hope people feel renewed hope and inspiration and confidence that you can pursue it.
That leads to the one question you said. If there's one question that people are discussing at their events tomorrow, what are your hopes and dreams that you really want to go? Is that it?
Yeah, hopes and desires.
Hopes and desires. Thank you so much, Carin Rockind. And we're so excited for Women's Global Happiness Day, womenshappy.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks to our viewers, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.